What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we're here for another episode of Let's Talk Dynasty, breaking down all of the divisions in football for you. For Dynasty Fantasy Football, today we're going to be talking about the NFC East. So the Giants, Cowboys, Commanders, and the Eagles on tap today, giving you everything you need to know. Breakouts, sleepers, all of that good stuff for you guys. Busts, even, people want to know about the busts. We got that here today, but it would not be an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty without my co-host. So let's get MFGDs into the building. Let's start talking about the NFC East. War, how we doing today, man?
Hey, man. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. And that set me up perfectly because we're about to be talking about Malik Nabers and the Giants. So that is the first team that we're talking about today. You set me up. I don't know if that was intentional or if I just put that in my back pocket. But the New York Giants last year, you said it was intentional?
It's intentional now.
There you go. I take the credit anyways. Last year for the Giants, 3-14. They finished fourth in the NFC East. They're projected to win 5.5 games this year. That is the projected win total for them. No coaching changes here for Brian Daboll and the Giants. In the offseason, they lose Daniel Jones. They add Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart, and Cam Scatterbo to this roster. So when we're looking at the top 250 in Superflex KTC value, Malik Nabers is the top of the list, followed by Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, Tyrone Tracy, Wan'Dale Robinson, Theo Johnson, and Russell Wilson. Quite a shallow roster for Dynasty Fantasy Football purposes. Obviously not a ton of elite talent yet outside of Malik Nabers. But how do you feel about this roster? And I guess where do we want to start the conversation? I think probably the most interesting one is the running back room. But where do you want to start it?
Honestly, I'll be honest. This might be a little controversial. It might not be. Honestly, outside of Russell Wilson, I wouldn't mind having any of these guys on my roster. I like them
you'd like all of them, huh?
I like all of them. It sounds crazy because I don't think they're going to win one game this season, but...
Okay, one game's crazy.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating. I think it's because I've seen Malik Nabers' number. I like all these pieces. The running back room is interesting to say the least. That's probably the best thing I could say about the running back rooms. Cam Scatterbo, Tyrone Tracy. I've spent the whole year calling Cam Scatterbo Bo Scatterbo. I don't know why I just gave him a new name, but it's interesting because this backfield could either be horrible, it could be mid, or it could be fire mid or trash, so to speak. Tyrone Tracy, he's a good basic running back. I think me and you came to that conclusion in some of our Dynasty trade reviews. He's a good basic running back. Oh my God, it's early. And Cam Scatterbo, you were low on him at one point, and then you slowly rose on him a little bit. I don't know where you're at on him now, but it's interesting. He's an interesting guy, so I'm interested. I'm down to see how. I wouldn't mind having these guys, even though I just traded both of them. Where I had shares of them, I wouldn't mind having these guys on the roster and just seeing what they come to. That's one of the exciting things about Dynasty football. Like, what are these guys going to become, particularly Cam Scatterbo?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm looking at the roster that they have here for the Giants, Scatterbo and Tracy are the most interesting because those guys are so close in ADP. Scatterbo in the 103 range, Tyrone Tracy in the 119 range. You're probably getting Tracy around and a half after Scatterbo, and I don't mind that. I do kind of have this feeling that in at least Cam's rookie season, Tracy's going to be very annoying. He's going to be a pest for Cam as a rookie. That's just my hunch. Scatterbo right now, obviously dealing with a hamstring injury. It's kept him out of some preseason games. It's kept him out of some practices. It's not the most ideal situation for him at the moment. But I do like Tyrone Tracy as kind of this PPR running back. I do like him as potentially a guy that can get some extra work. Overall, though, looking at the rest of the roster, Wan'Dale Robinson, a PPR type of guy that I think has some flex appeal in a pinch. I don't think you're looking to start Wan'Dale most really any type of week unless you have injuries or buys. Theo Johnson's an interesting dart throw. But then the other thing is like Jackson Dart versus Russell Wilson. I went on record the other day saying that I think Jackson Dart is starting football games for the Giants by Thanksgiving. That's my prediction, is Dart will be the starting quarterback by Thanksgiving. What do you think about Dart and Wilson's kind of quarterback battle? I think everybody expects Wilson to be the week 1 starter guaranteed. And then I guess touch on Theo Johnson too, because I kind of threw him in there as like a piece. So tell me about Dart and Johnson.
You know what, man? I feel a lot of haterade coming out of the screen above, coming from Mr. Andrew Mott. Yeah, man. First of all, you better stop sleeping on the homie Wandale. I don't care if he get 10 targets and get 10 receptions for 1 yard. He's scoring points, damn it. He's
When are
scoring
you
points.
comfortably starting him? Nobody is excited to put him in the starting lineup ever.
Hey, he gonna get you 10 points. Hey, he a good flex option. He more than likely gonna get you 10 points on a week-to-week basis. You ain't gonna get 11, you ain't gonna get 12, but you go get 10. Theo Johnson, I'm gonna tell you this. Theo Johnson, my whole logic behind him, not my whole logic. I mean, there is some stuff like scouting-wise and like production-wise, like in college and things like that I like. But my mind keeps going back to I don't know what they call it, off season or in draft hard knocks, whichever hard knocks that was that the Giants were on last season, and just seeing that front office gush over Theo Johnson. They're
What was
gushing
that
over
one?
him.
Was that like the in-season Hard Knocks? I think it was in-season, or maybe I can't remember what it was. But it was the one where they
Couldn't
were basically like tripping about, please don't let Saquon go to the Eagles, and then Saquon went to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been this season. It was almost like a before, because the Bears were last season hard knocks. It was like a draft hard knocks or some shit
Something
like
like that. Yeah. They got so many Hard Knocks these days that I feel like it's hard to. There's an in-season, there's a preseason, there's like an off-season Hard Knocks. We got Hard Knocks for everything.
Yeah, and I just remember them gushing over him, and I feel like the little bit that he did play, he was starting to show a little sparkle of something, and then he got hurt. So I think he could for sure be a sleeper. I agree with you on Jackson Dart. He just looks the part. Like the little bit I've seen him in the he just looks the part. And when the Giants get to Thanksgiving, like you said, and they got like 1 or 2 wins, it's gonna be like, why the fuck not? Just put Jackson Dart in there. Just throw Jackson in there because Russell hasn't been able to get the job done. Jameis, I don't care what nobody say. Jameis is, how do we describe Jameis? He's such a unique individual. I don't want to say, I feel like, okay, this is how I put it. Let's say before Thanksgiving, something happens to Russell Wilson, right? I think they would put Jameis in instead of Jackson Dart. But I think once Thanksgiving passes, if anything happened to Russell Wilson and he just happened to still be the starter, I don't think they're putting in Jameis. I think they're putting in Jackson Dart, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think Jameis is clearly the QB3. He's like, if anything happens to either of our other guys, we have a good option. Where last year, when they got to QB3 and things like that, it's Tommy DeVito. It's like, we don't want the DeVitos of the world starting anymore. We'll take Dart, and then James can be his backup. We'll take Russ, and Dart can be, Russ's backup. I think that's the way it's going to be, but I agree with you. Dart looks really good. I liked him a lot in the pre-draft process. The preseason game, he looked good. I think the kid plays with a ton of confidence. I think it's right up Brian Daboll's alley of the type of player that he wants. He's very interesting to me. I have a lot of shares of Jackson Dart in Dynasty leagues, and I think he's a little bit undervalued. If you guys want to take shots on a cheap starting quarterback right now, I think Dart's the guy that you can probably take some shots on. He was going late in rookie drafts. Is there anything to say here about Malik Nabers? Malik Nabers is elite as they come. I think you and I both believe he's going to be a guaranteed wide receiver 1 in fantasy. I don't think it matters on the quarterback play. I think all of the quarterback play, whether it be Russell, Dart, or Jameis, I think all of them are upgrades from what he dealt with last year. Is there anything else here really outside for Nabers, or is it just like, don't overthink it?
Not really much to say about Malik, to be honest. I mean, Malik is Malik. He's the best player on this roster. Ain't much to say about Malik, man.
Just love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. Let's go on to the next team here. We are going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys. They have a projected win total of 7.5 games this year. Last year in 2024, they went 7-10, finished third in the NFC East. Lots of changes to Dallas this offseason. Brian Schottenheimer was promoted from the offensive coordinator to the head coach. Clayton Adams, former Cardinals offensive line coach, was hired as the offensive coordinator, but Schottenheimer should still remain the play caller for this team. In the offseason, they lose guys like Cooper Rush, Rico Dowdle, Ezekiel Elliott, who is still on the roster for some reason, and Brandon Cooks. In the offseason, they've added players like George Pickens, Jayden Blue, Javonte Williams, Joe Milton, Miles Sanders, and Phil Maffa in the NFL draft when we're looking at the top 250 players on KTC. Guys like CeeDee Lamb top the board for them, followed by George Pickens, Dak Prescott, Jake Ferguson, Jayden Blue, Javonte Williams, and Joe Milton. Obviously, some upgrades to this offense, hoping that they, take a step forward with a healthy Dak Prescott this year. I guess first and foremost, I'm going to break this conversation up into, let's just break it up into 3 conversations here. The first conversation is going to be the running back conversation. The second conversation will be the wide receiver conversation. Then it'll lead into a Dak Prescott. So looking at this running back room, it's very ambiguous. A lot of people don't really know what to do with this backfield. Jayden Blue is there as the drafted guy out of Texas for them. They got Javonte Williams in free agency, Miles Sanders in free agency, Phil Maffa late in the draft. It seems like Javonte Williams right now has the camp buzz as the potential running back 1, but that's because Blue got hurt. And that's because Miles Sanders got hurt in camp. How confident are you that Javonte Williams is the guy to own here in Dallas? Or do you think it's going to be a mixed bag of players where it's going to be just annoying for fantasy all year long?
Well, first of all, I don't want anybody from this backfield, to be honest. Not until somebody emerges. And even if someone emerges, unless it's Jayden Blue, I don't want anything to do with it, to be honest.
You're done with your son, huh?
Yeah, I'm done with him.
You and
Miles
me both,
Sanders.
brother.
Yeah.
I gave up on Joe Mixon and you gave up on Javonte. That's where we at here.
And the clock is ticking on Jalen Waddle. Javonte. No, first Miles Sanders. Let me get to that bum. First. Not even in the top 200, 250. You said Javonte got the job because Miles Sanders is one of the people that's hurt. Let me tell you this. He's always hurt, so that doesn't even matter. So whether he was hurt or healthy, I still don't think he would get the job over Javonte. Jayden Blue is a bigger threat, but the draft capital don't really support him being a guy. I think, to borrow a term that you use, the 26th running back for the Cowboys might not even be on the roster. 27, 26, 27, they might not even be on the roster. Zeke's going to be gone for sure. Miles Sanders is going to be gone for sure. Phil Maffa, he might not even make the 53. Javonte, more than likely, will be relegated to like a running back 3 or some shit like that. Jayden Blue, he has the best chance of sticking around, but I could even see him being knocked down to like running back 2 or 3 if they add more people to the room later. They just had, at this point, Ezekiel Elliott, just to touch on him again real quick, he's just there for novelty purposes. I wouldn't even consider him.
He's not even there anymore.
Oh, yeah, I thought you said he was from Rock.
I said he was an off-season departure.
Oh, well, that shows you how much I care about their backfield. It's just a faceless, nameless entity.
Bunch of guys. Yeah.
Just a bunch, just some Jags.
Yeah. When we look at this backfield, for me, like, the most interesting shot is Jayden Blue. If you're going to take a shot, it's going to be him. I think he has the most juice out of all of these guys. He has the most athleticism out of all of these guys, and he has the PPR upside if you were going to have a pass catching back in this backfield. So Jayden Blue would be the guy that I'm the most interested in. Outside of that, like, Javonte Williams seems kind of at this point in his career, unfortunately, because I was a big Javonte guy when he was coming out of UNC, I think he's more of like an early down grinder. He's not really anything other than that, like a plotter, so to speak. He's saying he feels better, but I'll believe it when I see it. And guys like Sanders, interesting deep dart throw running back in a best ball format, but like other than that, I just don't care. The reality is, like, this backfield is messy, and if it ain't Blue, I don't want it. So that's kind of just the way it's going to be for this backfield for me. If Javonte comes out and has a good start to the season, I'd be trying to flip him in Dynasty leagues, trying to sell him and see if I could get somewhere else in a different backfield, because I do believe that Jayden Blue eventually is going to take more work than pretty much most of these guys overall. When I'm looking at the wide receiver room, Lamb and Pickens, outside of those two guys, there's really no other wide receivers that we care about. Guys like Tolbert still on the roster, things like that. It really is Lamb, Pickens, and Ferguson are going to be the receiving game for this offense. How do you feel about these guys? I know you and I both obviously love CeeDee Lamb. I think we've both come to rise on George Pickens since the departure of Pittsburgh to Dallas. And then I guess, how do you feel about Ferguson as well? Because I think Ferguson's going to be a fine tight end play this year still.
I'm going to touch on Ferguson first. Ferguson is a decent tight end starter. That's pretty much my analysis of Ferguson. I feel like if you can't get one of those top guys, then, you could do a hell of a lot worse than starting Jake Ferguson. He's going to have some week where he's unspectacular. Then he's going to have some weeks where, you know, he scores. He's one of the top 5 scorers at the tight end position in fantasy. So he's going to have weeks in and out. Like, he's definitely somebody, if you're doing a draft or something of that nature and you want to wait on tight end a little bit, he's definitely like one of those guys that you can kind of look at as a starter and just have him on your roster. Now, let me get to the main event. Because it's funny enough, I forgot that we were doing NFC East this morning. Because right before we got on here, I went on a rant, because you know how I do. I went on a random long form old man post about George Pickens. And I'm going to tell you what I said. This is one of our friends' leagues. I said, here's my theory on George Pickens. The Dynasty community don't remember weeks 1 through 13 or the wild card game, which I want to say that George Pickens performed quite well in that time span, despite having a collection of shit at quarterback. They don't remember that. They remember how he wasn't available, and when he was available, he was trash during the fantasy playoffs. And I think that's what sticks in people's minds when the people who are still low on George Pickens, even though he's moved over to the Cowboys, because otherwise, I don't know why more people aren't hyped about George Pickens. To be quite honest, he's going to a clear, decisive upgrade at quarterback. He's going to a team with a bona fide stud on the opposite end of the field to draw in the defense. And if you look at his numbers weren't that bad week 1 through 13, and he tried to put the Steelers on the back in their playoff elimination game. That's how I remember him. But then you got that 5-week span at the end of last season where he missed like 3 games, and then he came back from injury and it was trash. So I mean, I think that's what sticks in people's minds. I would say George Pickens is a bona fide sleeper, breakout candidate, whatever you want to say, but I think he's already kind of had somewhat of a breakout, and I don't see him as a sleeper because there's enough people who are high on him. So that's where I'm at on George Pickens. I don't know if you want to touch on it or if you want to go into Dak, but that's where I'm on Georgie boy.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with George too. It's a good point bringing up the very, very disappointing end of the season for George Pickens, because I had him on a couple rosters. I traded for George Pickens on a couple rosters, and he just sunk me at the end of the year too. So he was one of the guys. Another guy who did that was like Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith was banged up at the end of the year too. So I had both of them on the same roster. Not great. Looking at it though, Pickens, I think he's set up for probably a career year. It should be, a career year for him. Early in the offseason, people were saying like, because I said I don't know if he's going to get more targets, because people were saying like, oh, he's going to get fed even more footballs. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to get fed more footballs. I think he's just going to be better. Like, I think he's going to be more efficient. There's going to be more touchdown opportunities. It's not necessarily going to be a volume increase, because you are still competing with Lamb. You are still competing with Ferguson. You are still competing with, other people in this offense. But is it out of the range of outcomes here? And is this crazy to say that I truly believe the Dallas Cowboys offense in 2025 can be the great value version, the light version of what the 2024 Bengals offense was? Is it crazy to think that they can be that?
I don't think that's crazy at all. And I'm going to tell you something else that's not going to be crazy. Andrew, would you be surprised, because we've been playing this shit for a long time, would you be surprised if, let's say, first 4 weeks, you see boom games out of Pickens and just, standard games for Lamb, and then you got the Dynasty community start being stupid like, oh my God, should we trade CeeDee? I can see that happen. Then it'll eventually go back to CeeDee fucking being CeeDee, and then Pickens will still be good, but it'll be clear that he's CeeDee. So be on the lookout for that, y'all. When your league mates start to sell the dip on CeeDee Lamb, thinking, oh man, George Pickens, he's taking all the opportunities away and this and that, don't believe it, and take advantage of your league mate that has CeeDee Lamb and starting to hedge on the situation. I can see that coming.
Yeah.
Because
look,
maybe Dak might have a perspective of, let me get George going early because I already know what I can do with CeeDee. Let me get him going early so, we could get this thing rolling together. And it'll be a little bit at the expense of CeeDee, but I'm sure CeeDee won't care because it's just going to be a few games and he knows that he's that dude, but I can see that happening.
Yeah. Look, I think it's, like I said, I don't think it can be the ceiling all the way of what that Bengals offense was, but this feels eerily similar to what that Bengals offense was being valued as last year. You have Lamb, the bona fide wide receiver one that was the Jamar Chase of the Bengals offense. George Pickens, everybody's viewing him as this high-end upside type of wide receiver too. That was T. Higgins last year as well. Then you have Dak Prescott, the guy who struggled with injury, but we know when he's on the football field, he can sling that thing. That's what Joe Burrow was. And then Jake Ferguson, it was the Mike Gesicki, right? Like a guy that can come in and give you some fine tight end production, but then he might find his way into some touchdowns. And then you have the running back room. Last offseason, the plotter, the vet, Zach Moss, and then the young guy, Chase Brown, who had the upside in the PPR appeal. That's Jayden Blue and Javonte Williams. It's almost set up the same way. And like I said, I don't know if it's going to be the same way because that Bengals offense went crazy last year. But this could be the light version of it. And I would be investing here if I could in a couple of these pieces. Dak Prescott's my favorite value when I look at the board for QBs this year. I truly do believe Dak Prescott has top 10 potential, top 5 potential, maybe even at the quarterback position this year. I'm very interested in him. I think he's going to potentially be pushing for 4,500-ish yards this season if all things go right. Just also looking at that run game, we don't expect it to be a lot, so they're going to have to throw the football a ton. The defense may regress a little bit this year for Dallas. They're going to be in a division with the Commanders, the Eagles, and other games on the schedule where they're going to have to throw the football. I like Dak, man. I don't know about you. How do you feel about Dak? Because I think he's set up for a pretty solid year here.
I like Dak too. I think Dak, I don't want to reveal too much to you because of the upcoming week. I think Dak is definitely a sneaky. I think Dak is definitely a sneaky redraft. He's just Dak Prescott pickup to where you take him in a redraft doesn't reflect the actual production that he's going to give you. Actually won a championship in our league by taking that exact approach with Dak Prescott.
It's the name. People hate Dak Prescott's name for some reason, and so he gets faded.
That's what pissed me off about Kyler last year too. Because I feel the same way about Kyler, except Kyler lived up to the disappointment last season. He lived up to it.
The thing with Kyler, though, is like he was disappointing, but then when you look at like fantasy points per game, he was still giving you like QB1 numbers from a fantasy points per game perspective. He was just inconsistent. So like you would have weeks where he scored a lot, and then you'd have weeks where he tanked you. So it was the consistency that was disappointing with Kyler, but the points per game numbers were still there.
Andrew is always going to defend his son.
Dude, I love Kyler Murray, man. I don't know why. I love Kyler.
But yeah, man, I feel like Dak is a sneaky ass guy. And if you have a league mate that's like a dumbass and it's just like, oh, Dak Prescott, he's white toast or whatever. He's toast and then like look at just this boring ass milk toast player or whatever. Then go out and say, hey man, Dak's not exciting for you. And then try to trade like I was gonna say something that you might find blasphemous.
Go for it.
I was gonna say I ask you this. I'll put it on you. I ask you this. If you had Justin Fields on your roster and somebody came to you and said, hey, Andrew, I want to trade you Dak Prescott for Justin Fields, even though we know Justin can't pass, so he'll give you that rushing production. Are you taking Justin Fields over Dak?
I don't think it's out of the range of outcomes to go either way. I think you have arguments for both sides.
I feel like Dak Prescott is going to be a starting quarterback longer than Justin Fields will.
Yeah, the age gap for like kind of how I was talking about in our trade show that we recorded last week. I guess it's not even out on the channel as I'm talking about this, but what I was doing was talking about like how I think the market reacts. Dak Prescott is 30, so the market's going to react differently to him than it would be Justin Fields if both of them have a good season. If Justin Fields has a good season, people are going to push him back up, rankings pretty significantly. And if Dak has a good season, he may move up a little bit, but he's still going to be 30, 31 years old, and people aren't going to react as heavily. So like if you're trying to play the market, the bet is probably just try and take Justin Fields and see if that range of outcomes hits on the higher level. But a contending roster, like you want the safe production, the safe floor of a guy like Dak Prescott, I don't blame you.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it. I just think that if Justin Fields doesn't succeed on the New York Jets, I think that's it for his starting opportunities. And they could come to that conclusion as early as this season or next season.
Agreed.
And I think Dak will at least play till he's like 36. So I feel like you could at least possibly get some decent production out of Dak for like 6 more seasons. And I think by then the jury's either going to be out or in on Justin Fields.
Yeah, I agree. I think that could definitely happen. By the way, I had to go look at the numbers. Kyler Murray's points per game is right in there with it's with Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love. So I mean, you tell me if that was fine. I think it was fine. But I like Dak. I think he's very undervalued right now, and I think this offense could be, hear what I'm saying, could be, not guaranteed to be, but could be the Cincinnati Bengals light offense in 2025.
What do you think will stop that from happening?
If the defense doesn't regress and their pace of play is a little bit slower, that's going to stop that from happening. And I also think if we don't get somebody, if Jayden Blue doesn't kind of take on that late Chase Brown last year, if Jayden Blue doesn't do that, they may not be as efficient in this offense late in the season.
Gotcha.
So but I think there's a pretty decent shot that happens. Whether it's playing drafts or sweating pick'ems, there's no off season on Underdog, which means there's still plenty of ways to cash in big this summer. No matter the sport you're watching, Underdog has you covered, and all you have to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite athletes from whatever sport, put them into a pick'em entry, watch the winning multiplier increase, click play, and win real cash. So what are you waiting for? Download Underdog and start playing today. Plus, when you use promo code LEAGUEFFB, Underdog will give you a new customer special, which is a free square for your first pick'em entry, and they will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash, giving you the perfect head start to winning big on Underdog. So if you want to support our show and get in on some daily fantasy sports action, click the link in our description to sign up for Underdog using code LEAGUEFFB. So thank you to our sponsors over at Underdog. And with that out of the way, let's get back into the action. Let's move on to the next team. We got the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders have a projected win total of 9.5 games. Last year, 12-5, second in the NFC East. No coaching changes for this offense at all. In the offseason, they lose Diami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus from that wide receiver room. They add Deebo Samuel, Corey Krosky-Merritt in the NFL draft as a running back, and Jalen Lane. Reportedly today, Terry McLaurin is no longer holding out. He is going to attend practice without a new contract. So we'll see what happens there. But when I'm looking at the top 250 players in KTC, lots of guys from the Commanders being drafted. I think this is probably a little bit of the Jayden Daniels effect. He is the top of the list. Terry McLaurin is underneath him, followed by Brian Robinson Jr., Deebo Samuel, Ben Sinnott, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Jalen Lane, Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, and Luke McCaffrey. Let's start this conversation here around the wide receiver room, because you have Terry McLaurin, who has been holding out, like I said, reportedly going to attend practice here now. Deebo Samuel added in, and then you have guys like Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey that are finding their way into the top 250. Do you think there's room for 3 wide receivers in this offense, or do you think Terry and Deebo is kind of where it's at and it's going to be consolidated down?
Okay, let me first say that Ja'Cory, Jalen, Luke, don't care about them. I'm just going to go ahead and just put them to the side, put them in a little basket, and just set them to the side. Terry
So you just want to talk about Deebo and Terry?
Yeah, because the first thing I'm going to say is going to get shit talked about me in the comments, and that's if the algorithm plays out the way we want it to. See, I'll be honest. Olamide Zaccheaus is a huge loss for them. And you're probably like, oh, he's saying that because he's on the Bears now. Olamide Zaccheaus is a huge loss for them. Olamide Zaccheaus has been lights out in training camp right now. And I want to go on record to say Olamide Zaccheaus will have a better season than Deebo Samuel.
Explain.
He's going to have a better season than Deebo Samuel. I personally feel like Deebo Samuel's washed. I feel like he's washed. I feel like it's over for him. I feel like the 49ers used up what little he had left by having him do wide receiver and running back shit. And then they said, oh, yeah, Commander's here. Go ahead. You can have him. Go ahead. And then he's going to get there, and we're going to see this washed version of Deebo Samuels, who's always fucking injured. That's what I think we're going to get. I am not high on Deebo Samuel. I do not think Deebo Samuel is more valuable than Ben Sinnott or Zach Ertz. Terry McLaurin, we'll see. Honestly, I'm not high on any of Washington's receivers. I'm not high on Terry McLaurin either. to be completely freaking honest. I ain't high on Terry McLaurin.
I
I ain't
mean,
high
look,
on him.
I like Terry McLaurin at this ADP, wide receiver 30. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think he's going to see his value increase once we start seeing him on the practice field. He was already a regression candidate. The touchdowns last year, they were pretty high. He was going to have to be super efficient again. It's not to say that he can't. Jayden Daniels obviously has a pretty good deep ball. He has the ability to, make these big plays happen. But some of that regression could come towards Terry McLaurin's touchdown totals. So he was somebody that I was watching anyways. I think Deebo Samuel's going to be fine. Good, not great. I think he's still going to produce as long as he's healthy. That's always the big question with Deebo Samuel. For me, Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey, I'm not super interested in Luke McCaffrey. I've heard some decent things about him from training camp. I think Jalen Lane's the guy I'd rather take the shot on if I had to pick between the two, but neither of them I'm expecting big things. They're just taxi squad stashes for me at this moment in time. I think when it comes to the receiving options, guys like, Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott, I understand why the ADPs are the way that they are there, but Zach Ertz is still the starter in this offense, folks. Like, Ben Sinnott being almost 100 spots ahead of him in ADP is a little bit ridiculous. There's nothing we've seen from Ben Sinnott yet, and that's not to say that anything can't happen. Obviously, we saw the Zach Ertz and the Trey McBride stuff happen in Arizona. Same coach, by the way, Cliff Kingsbury. If something happens for Ben this year, sure, cool breakout candidate, but I'm not viewing him 100 spots higher than Ertz. I think Sinnott's ADP is a little bit too high for my liking at this moment in time. I'm going to take us over to the running back room because the running back room is interesting to me. Brian Robinson Jr. sitting there at running back 30, Ja'Cory Crossy-Merritt at running back 57, and Austin Eckler at running back 75. I think B-Rob is going to be a sneaky value asset this year where it's a good offense. He's going to have some touchdown opportunities. I think he scores, close to double-digit touchdowns, if not over double-digit touchdowns. Ja'Cory Crossy-Merritt has been a sleeper of mine. I love JCM. I like what I see on tape. I think he's going to really earn a role in this offense. I think he's going to start spelling Brian Robinson Jr., and I think he's their long-term answer, at least as a change of pace guy for B-Rob right now. And I think JCM has the ability to become the guy in the running back room in Washington in a couple years' time. I think he's that talented. He was a player that was very overlooked in the NFL draft because of some eligibility concerns. Not his fault. It was a transfer where he didn't get to play that last year of his college career, and it seems like people kind of forgot about him. He shows up to the Shrine Bowl, wins the MVP at the Shrine Bowl, kind of had like a fourth round grade by most analysts like Daniel Jeremiah and guys like that, Bucky Brooks in the NFL draft, had a fourth round grade, and he ends up going in the seventh round to the Commanders. I think he's as good of a bet at the running back position as guys like Bashal Tutin for what it's worth. And I think you can get him much cheaper. I really like JCM. And then Austin Eckler, he's going to be a pass catcher for now. How much does Eckler have left in the tank? I don't know. We'll see. But I think he's fine for now. But I truly do believe it's B-Rob, and by end of season, it's B-Rob and JCM, mixed bag of touches there.
Okay. I guess since you're talking about him, I'll temporarily take him out of the basket and talk about him. JCM. Okay. Honestly, I agree with what you're saying. I'm so low on Brian Robinson that at this point, I think anybody could take his job. He's a bum, plain and simple. He's not scoring double-digit touchdowns, Andrew. I don't know if you smoked this morning or what. He's not scoring double. He's a plotter. He's a to me, he's more generic than Tyrone Tracy. Like, he's like the poster boy of generic running. I don't know why a team with Super Bowl aspirations didn't do more at the running back position than what they did. They should have been out there trying to trade for Alvin Kamara or something, because maybe they will do that during the season, because Brian Robinson Jr. is not it. Ja'Cory Crossy-Merritt, you talking about he might spell Brian Robinson by then. He might take that dude's job. That's how low I am on Brian. Like, if Ja'Cory come out, he's some exciting rookie and, have a big couple of games, Brian Robinson going to be on the Brian bench.
So if you felt that way about B-Rob, why'd you discard Ja'Cory so early in the discussion?
Because I wasn't touching on running backs earlier, and I just threw him in there because I was like, I'm gonna be honest, Andrew, this is gonna be controversial and people gonna say what they'll say. I think this entire roster our regression candidate from top to bottom. From top to bottom. Jayden, regression. Terry, regression. Bryant, regression. Deebo, regression. And then you got a couple players that might actually progress because they didn't do anything last season. But I think this whole team is going to regress. And I think a lot of people are going to be left with egg on their face with the way they're going to draft Jayden Daniels this season. I think some people are going to be drafting him as top quarterback. I see here you got him as QB too. That's not happening.
He's only behind Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen and him.
Yeah, that's not happening. He's going to regress. He's not going to regress as bad as CJ Stroud did, but he's not going to replicate what he did last season. He's going to do good. He's going to have a good season, but he's not going to have no historically great season like he did last season. That's just not happening. As far as I'm concerned, unless he put on like pounds and pounds of muscle, I'm still worried that he's going to break in half with every potential sack. So yeah, like, I'm sorry guys. I know you love Jayden. We all love Jayden Daniels. The media everybody loves Jayden Daniels, but let's pump the brakes here on him. And as far as Brian Robinson, he could be David Robinson, and I would prefer David Robinson over Brian Robinson, and not young David Robinson, and not the Admiral David Robinson, but David Robinson. Now. Yeah, 60 years old. Like,
just disrespectful. B-Rob had 8 touchdowns last year in 14 games, and you're telling me in a 16-game season he can't get 10? And that's just to say that they start giving him a couple more on the goal line. Maybe some of Terry's long touchdowns don't go all the way. Now we're talking about a little bit of positive regression for B-Rob. I don't know. I think it's disrespectful. I'm going to touch on Jayden Daniels because you kind of went into the quarterback discussion. I don't have an issue with people that want to draft Jayden Daniels as QB2. Would I do it? No, I would not. I would be drafting Lamar Jackson still ahead of Jayden Daniels. However, after Lamar Jackson, I am totally okay with us having that conversation about JD. I think he's a player that when we are trying to project the future, how are startups going to look 2026 offseason, the 2027 offseason, if we want to go 2 years into the future, I think Jayden Daniels ends up passing the Josh Allens of the world. I think he ends up passing the Lamar Jacksons of the world 2 years from now when we're talking about those startups. And that's just because, are you drafting a 31-year-old Josh Allen over a Jayden Daniels in a startup? I don't think so. I'm not. I think Jayden Daniels ends up having the argument for the 101 in Dynasty startup drafts just a couple years from now. So is there a chance for some year 2 sophomore slump? Yeah, there is. But I'm not worried about Jayden Daniels as an asset. Elite prospect, elite arm talent, rushing upside, good offensive coordinator that's going to get the best out of him in the offense, even if it's not the most pro-style NFL offense we're going to see. I think Jayden Daniels is fine. I think he is more than fine. I'm not fading Jayden Daniels. I'm drafting him where he's going, and if that's the case, and I get a little bit of regression, I'm not panicking over it, because I think that long-term outlook, you're drafting Jayden Daniels for the long play, and the long play for Jayden Daniels is the reality of him being a top 10 first-round Dynasty startup asset for the next 5 years. That's the reality of what you're drafting Jayden Daniels to be.
I'm putting Jayden Daniels on Puka Nacua watch. I got to see it 2 times. I'm sorry.
Here's one thing that I'm going to say about the wait and see. I understand sometimes we like to wait and see. I agree with you. There's certain players where I'm like, there was things about the profile where I got to see it again. But the problem with guys like Jayden Daniels, where you want to wait and see, if he goes out and does it again, you'll never get in on Jayden Daniels at a decent price, ever.
Well, no, don't hear what I'm not saying. You still got to take him in the top 5 at the minimum. You got to take him in the top 5 quarterbacks, the minimum. You could really only make an argument to take whoever, maybe Hurts or somebody like that, but you got to take him at 4 or 5.
Let me play the game for you real quick.
Okay.
Allen and Lamar, it's out of the question, right? You're taking those 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jalen Hurts or Daniels right now. You have to draft one.
Taking Hurts.
Burrow or Daniels right now.
Taking Burrow.
Is there anybody else after that? Would you go Mahomes or Daniels?
I'm taking Daniels right there, so 5th.
So you're taking him as QB5.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a strong, I don't hate it. If that's what you're taking him as, that's what you're taking him as, but I'm taking him over Hurts and I'm taking him over Burrow. I traded Hurts for Daniels in a league this offseason, but we'll see. You're calling regression for the Commanders?
We're going to see, man, because what I've learned is this in recent history of how the NFL is now. These rookies are coming out and they popping off in their first season, and then they regress in their second. So I see it happen. Even though you'll make the argument that he's never regressed. I've seen it with Kyler. I've seen it with CJ Stroud. Like, I could really keep going. Like, a lot of these guys, they come out in their first season, they pop off, and then, year two is like, and I'm still, you know what? Let me take this back. Because really, guys, this has nothing to do with Jayden Daniels. This has to do with the figure it out ability of Cliff Kingsbury's offense. That's really like what I'm hanging my hat on. I feel like Cliff Kingsbury, his shit is easy to figure out after a season. So we're going to see. Maybe Jayden Daniels' talent is just so immense that even if they figure out Cliff Kingsbury, his talent is too great to be stopped or contained. We'll see.
Yeah, fair enough. That trade I ended up making, I'm assuming you don't like it because I traded Hurts and Tyler Warren. It ended up being Tyler Warren. It was the draft pick that drafted Tyler Warren for Daniels and Jackson Dart. So I got the two QBs in Daniels and Dart, and he got Hurts and Warren.
Well, I traded Jayden Daniels last season, like in the midst of his greatness.
Yeah, I mean, you got Drake May, and it was what, Drake May in a first?
I'm actually looking now. I got Drake May, McMillan in a first.
Yeah.
I feel like that wasn't enough.
It's probably not enough, but it's not bad. Depends on what May does this year. But hey, let's move on to the final team here, and we're going to talk about the Super Bowl champs. Philadelphia Eagles last year, obviously first in the NFC East. They go 14-3. They win the Super Bowl. They now have a projected win total of 11.5 games. The coaching changes for this team. Kevin Patullo was promoted from the passing game coordinator to the offensive coordinator to replace Kellen Moore, who is now for the New Orleans Saints. Offseason departures, nothing major. Kenny Pickett leaves. Kenneth Gainwell leaves. In the offseason, they add guys like Kyle McCord, A.J. Dillon, Kylan Granson. Really, there's nothing major that has changed with this offense. And I wouldn't expect that after winning the Super Bowl. I think you kind of just want to run it back and see what you got. In the top 250, you have guys like Jalen Hurts, who's the quarterback 5, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Will Shipley. This is a very consolidated offense for dynasty purposes. Look, we kind of had a little bit of a conversation, but I mean, we can hit. I don't think this one's super crazy. Let's talk about the wide receivers though. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, they're starting to get closer and closer and closer in ADP every year. Do you agree with that just based off of A.J. Brown's age, or do you think people are fading A.J. a little bit too much still?
I think people are fading A.J. a little bit too much still, but then you got certain guys like Andrew Mott that will still demand the whole farm for A.J. Brown, even if you offer a deal. So I do think people are fading him. And I think it's one of those situations where I think people are just bored with the AJ Brown shares. Like,
yeah,
it's not like he's falling off a cliff or anything like that, but I think like it's more like he's A.J. Brown. So, I mean, I think a bigger concern, honestly, is Devonta Smith. Like you were saying in one of the previous slides, like he's in that Jaden Waddle territory, which is funny because both of those guys were like, which one of them are going to be better? They both have kind of turned to guys that you thought could have been wide receiver ones, but they both have bona fide wide receiver ones ahead of them. And now they're both getting to the age where they're like 26, 27. And it's kind of like, well, shit, the window's not closed, but it's cracked because now it's like by the time you get your opportunity to show what you got, you're going to be pushing 30. And, the dynasty community is going to move on from you. And I don't care about, as far as wide receivers, that's what I'm thinking about those two guys.
I mean, I think A.J. Brown's undervalued. As far as like fantasy points per game last year, still outproduced guys like Brian Thomas Jr., Rashee Rice from a fantasy points per game perspective when he was dominating early on. Still, outproducing Lad McConkey's and JSN types. And I get it. You want to draft those guys in Dynasty over A.J. Brown? Sure. The age difference is enough for me to understand you. But when it comes to contending pieces, early in the offseason, I talked about A.J. Brown being a buy. Middle of the offseason, I talked about A.J. Brown still a buy because the price was getting cheaper. Right now, it's like A.J. Brown is still a buy, guys. Like if you want production as a contending roster, A.J. Brown is the best buy you can make right now. And I know he's dealing with a hamstring injury currently, and that's not what you want to see in the preseason. But at the end of the day, value-wise, like if he's on the football field, he's going to produce as this wide receiver 1 for us. And you can get him at wide receiver 13 prices, which is a high-end wide receiver 2 in 12-team formats. So there's still going to be a prime here where AJ still has a couple years. And I think there's a chance also with this offense for the Eagles where we see the passing volume kind of bounce back up a tiny bit. Saquon Barkley, he had a ton of touches last year. It's a ton of carries. He had a ton of usage. They were dominating games. The schedule is harder this year. There should be a little bit more opportunities for Jalen Hurts to throw the football. ball, balance it out a little bit more. That would benefit A.J. Brown. That would benefit Devonta Smith. Even Saquon in the receiving game could benefit him too in checkdowns and stuff like that. But I agree with you when it comes to Devonta. A really good wide receiver too. It's tough to trust him because of how this offense isn't, a high-powered passing offense. It's a high-powered offense, but it's not high-powered passing. And he's kind of getting scrap of what is left over from A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. And it's just not consistent enough despite the talent of him. And I agree, by the time he's in a situation where he's going to be number one, the age is going to be where it's like he's Terry McLaurin's age or something like that. And it's like, are you wanting to buy a 29-year-old Devonta Smith or something like that? So I get it. Goddard, best ball tight end for when he gets into the end zone, but I'm not, confidently throwing him into my starting lineup every week, but you could do worse. And really, the conversation is Saquon Barkley. I think that's the final conversation here. I believe Jalen Hurts. Do you believe Jalen Hurts is still locked and loaded top 5 quarterback this year?
Yeah,
I do too. Tush Push is still around. He's still going to get rushing touchdowns. I think he's still a talented thrower of the football. When it comes to that, like, people think Hurts is a gimmicky quarterback. Do you still think he's a talented thrower of the football, or are you not in on his like passing volume?
I still think he's gimmicky, but it's okay with a gimmick if it's fucking working.
Fair.
Like, I thought even coming out of college, Jalen Hurts was like, I never could have imagined that he had the level of success that he's having based on how he was in college. Like, in college, I was just like, this guy's going to fail in the NFL. I was completely wrong.
When you get the Jalen Hurts types, that's why people continued to draft years later down the road the Jalen Milroe types. Like, Jalen Hurts is the blueprint for the Jalen Milroes, right? Like, you want that to happen. The big conversation here is Saquon Barkley, man. He had a lot of touches on the body last year. Madden cover athlete, if you believe in that curse. A whole bunch of other stuff. How confident are you in Saquon Barkley repeating what he did in 2024 here in 2025? Or are you at a point where we got the Hail Mary season out of Saquon Barkley and now I want to capitalize and get out of the asset and move to something else?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that. I think a lot of things went into what Saquon did last year. I think a lot of it was Saquon wanting to show the New York Giants that they fucked up. I think a lot of it was just the Eagles being a stud offensive line, but like they've already, what did they lose him for a season?
Landon Dickerson?
No,
it sounded like he avoided some major injuries, so it's not all year. He's not going to be gone all year.
Okay, but even still, him being gone for like a little bit is still like gonna affect like the production. I just don't think, I think he'll good. I just don't think he's
Mekhi Becton too, who was a starter on their offensive line. He left and went to the Chargers.
Yeah. So I don't think he's going to have a bad season by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think he's going to repeat what he did last season. And effectively, people will say it's the Madden curse because he's not having 2 historic seasons in a row, which is hard to do. So,
yeah, I agree. I think Saquon Barkley, to me, the season we got last year was incredible. In a single season format like a redraft or a best ball, you still have to draft Saquon based off of everything we've seen. But in a dynasty league, I think I'm okay missing out on 1 more year of Saquon or 2 more years of Saquon if I can get out at top 5 prices. Because quite honestly, it's not very often you have guys at his age with his mileage on the body where you're getting him in second rounds of startups.
Yeah. It's the age-old question. When will the cliff hit?
Sometimes the answer is always just be a little bit early than too late. Because you'd rather be early and say, damn, I could have got 1 more year out of Saquon than saying, damn, I should have sold Saquon last year because now his value is dirt cheap.
Yeah, ask Austin Eckler owners.
Yeah, I played that game with Dalvin Cook, and I think I let my fandom of the Vikings get me that year. But I played the game with Dalvin Cook. Let's just push it 1 more year, and he fell off the cliff. And before I knew it, this man was a New York Jet and out of the NFL. Like, what the hell? But let's go to the official predictions for the NFC East. Let's kick it over here. Breakouts, busts, and sleepers war. These are your predictions. Talk me through them.
Well, I kind of said that. I kind of lied to you guys, didn't I? Do you remember my lie from earlier in the episode, Andrew? What did I say? What did I say that I was not going to do? Well, I said I wasn't going to bet that. God damn it, Andrew. All right. I'm going to start with Theo Johnson because I want to start with the small, medium, and large, okay? I want to get my grand finale. I want to do my grand finales last. Theo Johnson.
Oh, I remember what you said. You said you were not going to fade. Yeah, I get you. Too late.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So, Theo Johnson, as I said earlier in the episode, Theo Johnson, he was the darling, not the apple of the eye. Yeah, he was the apple of the eye in the Big Apple on last year's whatever version of Hard Knocks you want to say. And for a second, we're going to think, Andrew, please correct me. I'm just going to say Bellinger, because if I try to say the whole name, it's going to come out as Corey Bellinger. And I know that's just not
Daniel.
Daniel Bellinger, and I just know that is not the case.
Shout out Las Vegas native Daniel Bellinger, by the way.
Las Vegas native. We thought that was going to be a timeshare kind of, right?
Yeah.
We thought like, but that's kind of gone now. Like, there's kind of no more Daniel Bellinger. Like, he's just and I think that's because Theo Johnson. I think he has the athletic profile to get in there and make some noise. The biggest question about him is going to be health, I think. Health and quarterback play. They say that a rookie quarterback's best friend is the tight end, so I'm wondering if, and I haven't researched like if Jackson Dart and Theo Johnson have been having a good connection this offseason or not.
If it makes you feel any better, I was watching an overtime episode of Jackson Dart going house shopping in New York, and guess who was riding shotgun in his truck the whole time?
Theo Johnson.
Theo Johnson was house shopping with Jackson Dart.
Yeah, see, so tight end's rookie quarterback's best friend is the tight end. So I could see that definitely being a sleeper. Then, of course, I already told you, Dr. Barry Lee told you guys that I wasn't going to have George Pickens as a breakout candidate. I said that to you, but I lied. I said he kind of already broke out. Didn't I say that, Andrew?
You did say that. Did you just forget that you texted me George Pickens' name, or were you trying to set up a trap?
You know what? I'm going to be honest. I confused myself because George Pickens changed his number. So I was sitting there like, oh, let's screw up. He changed his number. So I got, but I was like, damn, I did put George Pickens there. But yeah, George Pickens he's going to be a fucking stud, man. He's going to have his best. Okay. And how many things can we say? How many reasons do we have to say George Pickens is a stud? I could have made this a poem. 1, George Pickens wants his money. He want to get paid, so he gonna ball hard. 2, he got a real quarterback now. 3, he got a stud wide receiver that's gonna take away the defense. 4, Andrew said that the Dallas Cowboys might be the great value team of Cincinnati Bengals. So I have all the reasons I need to justify that George Pickens is gonna be a breakout candidate. Even though I said he already broke out, I'm taking that back now because I'm saying that now he's going to break out. And then, once again, like I said earlier, Deebo Samuel, like even in this picture right here, look at his stomach. Now I'm pretty fat. Look. I'll tell y'all right now, I'm fat. But he ain't supposed to have no gut. I'm supposed to have all the gut around here. Okay? Like, Deebo Samuel, man, he's done. I forgot what player. There's so many players that fall off the face of the earth. I don't think, look, man, I'll be completely honest, man. Deebo Samuel might go out there, Andrew, and be playing like Curtis Samuel. I ain't even finna, and we know what happened to him because we both thought he was gonna break out. So yeah, man, Deebo, no.
All right, well, let's go to my predictions. I'm gonna give you guys the elevator pitches.
Oh my God.
Can't look at it and say the breakout is anything other than George Pickens. I'm looking at this division. I'm like, this is the most obvious breakout that we possibly have. Kind of just to quickly recap, I mean, you guys have heard it. I think this can be the great value Bengals offense. I think George Pickens is in a fantastic situation for the efficiency numbers to go up, the touchdown numbers to go up, all of those things. There's nothing else I can say about George Pickens that hasn't been said on this episode. The bust. Now understand that this selection is for 2025. This selection is not for career. I'm not projecting Scatabo to have a career bust. I just think it's hard for a rookie running back to deal with soft tissue injuries in the preseason of the NFL season and then come in and command a massive workload. I said I think Tyrone Tracy is going to be a pest as far as the receiving upside goes. That's going to be PPR points. Scatabo is a top 100 player in ADP right now. It's going to be hard for him to pay off at top 100 ADP prices unless for whatever reason the soft tissue injury doesn't affect him and he ends up coming in and being a 80% touch guy. The reality of the situation is we've gotten beat reporters and coach speak and things like that about them saying we're starting this year off with is, when Scatabo is healthy, we're going to start this year off 70% Tyrone Tracy and 30% Scatabo. That is a problem if Scatabo is going to pay off immediately for you. So I like Scatabo. I think he's the long-term running back for the New York Giants. But 2025, there's too many obstacles for him to come in and hit the ground running. But who knows? Scatabo's been, a little bit of an outlier his whole career. So maybe he proves me wrong. But this bust is not the career of Bo I just said it because you say it all the time. Is not the career of Cam Scatabo. It is just 2025's outlook. Hopefully that makes sense for everybody. And it's not, hopefully people don't take that wrong, because I know you didn't like when you saw the picture. The sleeper.
Yeah, no, because I was like, Andrew just has a love-hate relationship with this guy.
Honestly, part of it too was I was looking across the division and I was like, there's not a lot of guys that I think are bad values or going to, significantly not meet ADP. I was like, it's tough for me to pick a bust candidate. I'll take the guy who's a rookie running back missing time in preseason. Like it was maybe low-hanging fruit here, but I think that was just because of lack of other options too, which is a good thing for the NFC East. The sleeper, Corey Krosky-Merritt. I told you about it. Go check the receipts on the channel. I told you guys probably immediately after the NFL draft, he was one of the best pickups you could possibly be targeting. You should be drafting him late in rookie drafts. He had the opportunity, and it's already showed up in training camp and things like that. The buzz out of Washington has been that JCM looks amazing. I think he really pushes for touches as a rookie. I think he can significantly outperform that ADP. He was going near the 200s in the ADP that we looked at today. If anybody's going to significantly outperform it, it's Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He is my sleeper candidate. That is it for today's episode, though. Nothing else for you guys today. The NFC East knocked out. Only a couple more divisions left to go, 3 of them to be exact. So hopefully you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hopefully you guys are liking the content. If you find something entertaining, informative, actionable, anything, you just want to show us some love and support the channel, hit the like button. Also go join the free Discord. The free Discord is where we're helping you guys with your fantasy football teams 24/7, 365. And oh, by the way, in the Discord, we're doing a pick'em tournament. We want at least 50 people to join and play against us. We are about a third of the way at the time of this recording, hopefully going to be halfway by the time this is posted, but we want you guys in there. $10 to join, League FFB merch, cash prizes, a whole bunch of other stuff, a guaranteed subscriber league spot in next year's redraft league, all for the top 3 teams. So make sure you go follow or go join that Discord, hop in there and join that pick'em tournament against us. War, where can they find some additional content for you, and what do you want to plug at the end of the show?
I had a couple things. I'm gonna plug a couple things. One, Andrew, you forgot again, man. I need you not to forget, man. You're supposed to wear a jersey. You're supposed to wear a jersey of the team on every episode.
God damn it.
That's number one. Number two.
Okay, who would have today's jersey would have been Jalen Hurts. That's the NFC East jersey I have in my closet.
Yeah. Number two, guys, you only get one. Okay, you only get one. If you hit me up on X, on Instagram with Dynasty Fantasy Football questions, I'll answer one, but 2, 3, 4, and 5, you gotta take your ass to the Discord, bro. You gotta go to the Discord. I'll give you one, but you gotta go to the Discord for the rest of them. Or if you happen to join our Pick'em League and I can confirm it, I'll answer as many questions as you like about fantasy football. So go in there, join that Pick'em League. Go against me and Andrew, and that's that. Now,
people have been in that pick'em. People have been in the pick'em chat on Sleeper. They've been asking me questions. Andrew, how you feel about Bryce Young? How you feel about this? That's the best way to get the attention is because you're in a league with us now.
Yeah. Also plug my 2 channels, Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling and the Crimson Mass Show. I'm really trying to. There's been a delay on getting started with the Crimson Mass Show. That's because I'm trying to hit the ground running and actually provide content that's actually good. So I haven't started yet. I'm gonna put a trigger on that hopefully this weekend. But the Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling channel with the shorts, the highlights, that's still rolling constantly every week, a few times a week. So check those channels out. Subscribe to both of those channels.
Hell yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's what we got for you guys today. We're about to record the AFC East right now, so let me go put on my goddamn AFC East jersey so I don't forget. But everybody else, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Till then, peace out.